Hello and welcome to another episode of the Digital Digest, your weekly breakfast of insights, tips and tricks and general information that will help anyone trying to move things forward in this digital world of accounting. This show is brought to you by both the Digital Disruptors and SB Digital, who are pushing the boundaries in this digital accounting space. I'm your host, Ryan Piercy, and this episode is on managing change, part of our digital transformation, plethora of episodes. We started on the modern ERP, we went into what you need to consider before you start, and then process mapping, and now we're going into managing change. And I'm lucky enough to be joined by Marting from VisionReach, who is a member of the Systems Advisory Network, does a lot of digital transformation and understands change management, and so hopefully can add some great insights to this discussion. So in regards to managing change, it's an important part of digital transformation. And I guess one of the things I guess we should focus on at the start of this is why. Why is change management important? And it'd be really good to kind of get your initial thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, change management, to be honest, if no one's ever heard of it, it's something that can make or break any change within the business that happens. I mean, we talk a lot about digital transformation, and you can identify the right tools in the business, you could have the right people in the business. However, if you don't manage that change that you're hoping for, that transformation that you're looking for, isn't going to happen, isn't going to come to life, and it's going to be a lot of wasted time, money and effort, really, and a lot of morale is going to go down, really. So for me, it's an absolute critical part of any projects, really, anything, especially digital transformation.
Definitely, yeah, I completely agree. I mean, change management is a whole skill set, right? And in digital transformation, what we do regarding, and I guess, something we need to make very clear is digital transformation isn't a lift and shift. It's actually a complete revisit of how a business is running their operations in the area that we're looking at. And if you're doing that, you're not just kind of going, okay, well, we're changing the system, but you can carry on working in the way you want, you were previously. It's a complete mind shift. And with that, there's a lot of fear, especially of the unknown. We hate, as a species, we generally hate change. We love consistency. And so we are reluctant to it. There's some people that love it. I guess being in this industry, Alan, we probably find that we quite like change in general. But yeah, there's definitely a reluctance. And something I do find is very important is bringing your team along. And I guess regarding that, is there anything that you think is critical regarding, I guess, how you should bring your team along?
Yeah, the big thing that I always talk about is at what point do you bring your team along? And a lot of people do that once, the management team have decided the solution that they're going to use, or someone in IT has done their kind of look around for a few systems and they have chosen the one that they think they like. But for me, even before you've started to look at systems is the point where people should be brought in, people doing the job. And I've got a lot of background in kind of lean manufacturing, and they have their model, the Kaizen, is all about bringing in a cross section of disciplines, really, all the way from the business. It doesn't matter that you're looking at a problem in purchasing, you still bring in the operations guys. It doesn't matter that you're looking at something in finance, still bring in the IT guys. So a cross discipline, if you like, of people should be your team, and it should be that team that is capturing information and the interest from others within the business, and bringing those problems, ideas, solutions to the table right before you've even decided on what the solution is or anything like that. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that businesses make, is that they don't bring in the people at the right time, and that should be even before you start looking at the problem. That problem is the responsibility for the cross discipline team that's going to be looking at a solution and be partly responsible for bringing that in as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things I guess that you've touched on is when to start, and also the other point is when to end. Because I don't think change management ends when the system is in place. It's when, everyone has kind of got into that groove. And I'd say, generally from live date to at least 3 months after, people are still adapting to that process. They're still getting used to, getting it into just their day to day without having to think about it. And that whole process is still, change management.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not a tick box exercise. A lot of digital transformation, any implementation of any new processes, systems, software, are normally dealt with the attitude of, right, we've got that in, we've ticked the box, let's move on to something else. It's not that at all. And again, I refer back to my lean days, and they've got it right. It's about continuous improvement. You put in that new process and you have to continuously review it, and keep making the tweaks, because even though you've come up with a great idea, or it could even be a simple process change, it might look like the right idea and the right solution, but it may not be as that new process develops, and people continue to use that, because new demands are going to come into the business anyway, as well. So first, you need to review to, one, make sure that the solution is actually delivering what you want it to deliver, but secondly, also that it's adapting to your business needs and your market needs and the way the business is changing. The customers might want something else. You might win a contract from a big customer. That means you have to slightly adapt your processes to meet the new needs that they have, or the new requirements they have. So yeah, continuously review, and you're absolutely right, Ryan. Business change isn't a case of, right, let's look at a problem, let's get the solution in. It's, let's get the solution in and continuously look at that process again and make sure it continues to bring in the rewards and the benefits that you want it to.
Definitely. And something you focused on was that identification of a problem and that continuous address of or looking at your systems, your processes, and thinking, well, do we have something that we need to revise? And I find that perception of a problem is critical, because at the top you might go, oh, we've definitely got a problem in this area. But when you start talking to, as you say, other members of the team, we identify that maybe where we thought the problem was isn't that. So definitely bringing those in early on. And the other thing that's critical for this is that everyone feels that they're involved and have their say, which is really important further down the line.
Absolutely. And, the real question there is, for me, has always been, do you want change or do you want sustainable change? And the way to get sustainable change is by getting those within the processes and within the dare I say, the lower part of the business, get them making the change, making them feel like they're making a contribution to their own way of working and making their own lives better. And that's how you're going to get sustainable change. So really, it's up to the business, really. Do they want, as I said before, do they want change or do they want sustainable change? And I think sustainable change is certainly where everybody wants to go. So you need to make sure that it's not just top down that's bringing in the change. Top down should be part of that and leading that change, but certainly the change should be from the bottom up.
Yeah. How I like to think of it is sometimes the trigger can come in either direction. It's either a frustration from down the bottom of the team that it's just like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And you have to have an open environment that encourages them to bring that to the fore. And then sometimes it's at the top going, we're making this strategic decision to do this. And because of that, it's forcing some change. And either one is important. But when that happens, you have to have a structure internally to enable you to do that effectively. But let's focus a little bit on how you do this from a digital transformation point of view. What would success look like? What can we do in the digital transformation process to bring change management to some extent into it? So you say you start early in this process. You want to ensure that right at the start of a project. So say you're brought in to look at something. How do you bring change management into that initial conversation?
Yeah, so our process really starts with 3 questions to every single member of the team. What do you think takes too long? What don't you like doing? and what don't you want to be doing. And what we say to them is, let's not have a project meeting and we try and get the answers there and then, because you're not going to think about it for all at once. It's never going to come to the table. What I say to them is, go away, here's a blank sheet of paper, put that on your desk. When you get that moment of, oh, I don't want to be doing this, or this has taken too long, this has taken forever, all those moments that we have, even in the digital transformation space, that things take too long. As soon as you have that moment about anything, you put that down on the bit of paper, and then we then come back together, see what's on your bit of paper. Now, for us as the digital transformation guys, that's what we should be tackling as part of the solution. So we're not putting in, a new payroll system. We're not putting in a new manufacturing system. What we're doing is putting in a solution that tackles those headaches that the people that are within the process have. And that's how, again, you get the sustainable change. But do you know what? You get then everybody on board. Everybody is bought into the fact that this is actually going to change my life, and everybody wants, every business wants people, their employees, to buy into the change that's going on. And how you do that is that you tackle at least a few of their issues. Everybody wants personal benefit from what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And if you're going to introduce change as a business, make sure that you start introducing some of the personal benefits to each of your individuals, and that's how we start to capture what those benefits are that we could potentially deliver to each member of the team as well. Now, we're not saying we're going to tackle absolutely everything, but you know what? If we can tackle some of them, the buy-in's going to be there, and everyone is going to benefit to some degree. Your overarching issue may be, I don't know, stock management, and the business can't see what stock they've got on hand, for example. So, a solution can be brought in to solve that problem. But whilst you're doing that, you're putting in a brand new stock management process. So let's design that process around what the headaches are that people have got. And that's certainly where we start, to answer your question, Ryan. And that's how we get by, and everybody's bought in straight away. And then as we move to when we make our recommendations, again, it's about showing those recommendations or presenting them in a way that everybody can understand. And how do they understand that? You show them the problem that's going to fix, that is going to fix for them. So instantly they get it, because then they see it's going to solve this and this for me, and it's going to do all of this, rather than it's going to do all of this but not solve anything for me. The next stage in the process there was we present them in a way that everybody can understand. But also, what we do is not provide one solution. It's important that everybody loves choice. Everybody likes change. Certainly go shopping with the other half. You certainly know that. What you have to do is provide them the recommendations with the positives and negatives. So, going back to what we captured from the workforce, we've got a solution that's going to solve, 70% of your issues, and only a handful for these particular employees. Where here's a solution that's 90% of the way there, that solves most of the problems that your staff have got. And you present them in a way, or certainly we do, we present them in a way that they can then make their own judgment of what the best one is. But it doesn't just stop there. I've spoken a lot about solving problems, and ultimately, yes, that's what digital transformation is about. It's about making things better and solving problems. But it's
I'm just going to jump in. I'm just going to jump in, Alan. That's all right, because there's a lot we touched on. I want to reflect on some of those. So you said about, obviously, that a good part is for those members of the team to write down what their problems are. I think that's great, right? I did a very similar thing, but I also asked them to write down what would their dreams be. What would look great for them, and we get some really wacky things when it comes out of that. And sometimes people just also massively understate. They just can't comprehend what can be done. And so if they're putting what their dreams are, and we can go above and beyond, show them what they can do beyond what they even consider was imaginable, then that's a huge step, right? You kind of won them over by that already. But completely agree with you, presenting options, presenting choice, and as you say, which is incredibly important, present the positives and the negatives, because definitely in finance, people are generally critical. They're looking for those negative bits, and you need to be able to be honest with them and go, yeah, there's going to be some pain. There always is. That first period, there's pain, but you have to get through that to get to what's good. And so we've talked a lot about, I guess, identifying the solution, selling the solution. And then one bit I want to touch on then is that period at implementation, how you maintain, I guess, momentum, because if something comes up that doesn't work, how do you pivot that? And communication, I think, is incredibly key, and positivity. Even when you're seeing something painful, make sure that you're going, yeah, but look at where we're going. There's always going to be a bump. Look at where we're going. Do you experience that in what you do?
Absolutely. Now, I've seen this all throughout my career, and actually, I'm going to use something that somebody else taught me, and they remember starting this one workshop that I was participating in, and they drew this graph on the whiteboards, and then did a big U in the graph, and they said, "Do you know what that is?" What they said was, that is called the pit of despair. That at the bottom, the bar at the bottom is the timeline. So we're doing this Kaizen over 5 days. Inevitably, 2.5, 3, 4 days, you're going to be in that pit of despair, and it doesn't matter where you are in the project. You're always going to hit that pit of despair. But you have to keep going. It's going to take somebody strong to absolutely keep them going. But that's where you keep what we like to do is keep the problems in mind, and throughout the project, the things that we've tackled through that project. It's very, absolutely, it's very difficult. During testing of any solution, even the testing is a little bit beyond in the process, but even the early days of the concepts, this is what you could do. Keep showing them the problems that are going to be solved. So they're always doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. And the number of times I've hit the pit of despair, and I've got 20-year career. It's you're always going to hit it, and but it's how you get out of there. And it's keeping an eye on what's been what's been solved, what you're tackling, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, there's always a goal. You have to come back to what was that goal? Are we still focused on that? And sometimes right at the end, they'll go, God, that was horribly painful. Do we want to do that again? Yeah, but look at where we were, because people forget where we were and how we've done things. Once they're doing it in a new way, you have to remind them. Think about if you were doing it that old way, and then you kind of bring them back to reality of go, no, we've come a long way from where we were. But so I definitely know that we need to touch on this. We have talked so much about getting everyone involved. And whenever you get everyone involved, there's downtime. With downtime, there is cost. And so anyone that is running a project is probably here going, yeah, but I can't afford to throw that amount of time and people at it. But, and this is where it's important, it's not cost, it's investment. Because if you don't do it and you don't do it well, then what actually happens is the cost at the end becomes far, far worse, because you're then fighting a losing battle, trying to wedge in a system that no one wants or has not been brought in effectively because there's things that have been missed because you've not brought key members of the team in early on. Similarly, the system, as we said at the start, it can make or break it. If we don't manage change effectively, the whole thing could just fall apart. So I think a critical bit is we talk about time, we talk about investment, but from our experiences, we've gone through this. If you don't invest early, you pay the price at the end. So always put more time at the start. Planning is critical, and then making sure you've got a very good project manager, whether that's outsourced or internal. And personally, I find the best way of doing this is have a really experienced external person with someone that's determined internally to push this forward. If you do that, then this should be successful. Now, we've talked through a lot here, and I think we've kind of brought this to from a start of a project to an end of a project with change management. I think it's a perfect time to kind of bring this to a close and kind of summarize in the fact that there's key steps that you need to do to manage change. Bringing the right people in, bringing enough people in to deliver on it, critical people in, making sure you're doing it all the way through, investing up front are all critical parts of making sure this will work. And I think that is a great place to wrap up this week's show. So hopefully this episode has provided you with valuable insights that you can take forward. Please do check out the show notes for links to the Digital Disruptors, SP Digital, and also Alan's firm, VisionReach, plus anything that we've referenced before. If you like this one, please do check out previous episodes that touch on especially process mapping. And if you want to catch future episodes, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you look out for a release every Thursday morning. We look forward to speaking to you next week.